like a Hellcat.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. This is Matau Plays, and today I'm going to voice my opinions about Roblox, specifically the small driving universe that calls themselves the Infinite Driving Universe. Since my near non-existent audience still doesn't ironically play Roblox like I do, here's what a driving universe on Roblox is like. From what I know and have experienced, a driving universe is either a game or set of games focused on open world exploration and driving. If you do not know and want to bully me for playing Roblox, I myself own a driving universe and what we produce is not bad. Take Ultimate Driving for example of a popular driving universe. They have a group of developers, each making a region around them, and all have games that share the same assets, if not very similar ones. There's an economy in the game and it is saved over multiple games in the universe. Now, let me talk about the Infinite Driving Universe. It was founded by Thomas Fan 74 Inc. and it has games all around Canada and the United States. There is very little information about the driving universe, but it seems that the builders are Thomas and his friends. Nathaniel the Lion, Nate the Great 34412, Charlotte Sprinkle, North Arizona 6548 Pro, Thomas Fan 74 Inc., and probably a few more people like Meter Gamer Pro Roblox, Nice Choices, Ice Cream Days 21, Iowa Dot 1235, and apparently at one point me. I might go further into detail about the individuals in a later video depending on if this one gets popular. Infinite Driving runs on a quantity over quality principle, making tons of small rush games a week. There are so many games, I had to create a document to add links, which still isn't complete. For context, there are 3 universes with the name IDU, International Driving, which is me, Infinity Driving, which is run by actual developers and road geeks, and Infinite Driving. The first thing I want to point out is that these guys make way too many games, and they have no way of documenting them aside from using the prefix IDU, which gets affected by the other 2 universes that share the name. When searching up IDU, you get games by the first 2 universes, but after that, the entire search result is filled with games with no thumbnails, no game icons, and undescriptive descriptions. What I find is that among these games are random places signed with that name, but with no proper description as to which one it belongs to. A majority of the build team, if you can even consider them builders, does not know their road terminology. I once questioned an interchange because it was incomplete and there was no full access between all the roads. However, Thomas thought I was talking about the state of the interchange and if it was finished or not. The builders also seem to have poor depth perception, because sometimes their ramps and flyovers are either too short to the point where a short vehicle can still get stuck underneath, or ridiculously high. They use random road models, gantry and sign models, and building models they can find on the toolbox, and a bunch of their games are riddled with viruses. On one of the games which I worked on, which I will discuss in a later video, had over 80,000 viruses within the first week of development. I raised the issue in a group chat on Discord, however some of the people did not have Discord and could not receive my message and kept adding free models, which in turn added more and more viruses. One of the good things about this universe, besides games in the double digits, are signs. Some of the builders I talk with use Inkscape and they can make custom signs. I talked to a few people and asked their opinion on the signage that the IDU does, and here's their response. I asked people to rate screenshots I took in games from -1 to 21.
see children who don't really know what they are doing. I have spoken to Arizona quite a bit and I can barely comprehend anything he's saying, partly because native language is not English. Lita is somewhat similar to Arizona, but less dumb. However, he is a JoJo Siwa fan, so I don't know how long that will last. The rest of the devs I haven't really spoken to all that much, but in the times I have spoken to them, they were either incomprehensible, talked about JoJo Siwa, or didn't talk at all. Arizona doesn't seem to know what a private conversation is either. He often barges in on two people talking and doesn't leave them alone for no reason at all. Arizona also constantly pesters me to make a game with him, even though I've told him no several times. Here's some advice for IDU. First, have a consistency between all of your games. This means having similar descriptions, fonts, thumbnails, game icons, etc. The more games you have, the harder this will be, so create less games. Another good tip is take time with the work. Don't just do a sloppy job and not bother to go back and fix it. Also, keep your games organized. There are several ways to do this, like creating a layout for your map in Microsoft Paint or not creating the whole map for a game at once. Polish your game, make the roads and build it nice, and make sure there's no floating trees or objects. This step is important to appeal more to players and have nice looking, aesthetically pleasing games. Finally, take pride in your work. Do a good job, detail it, polish it, and give your social media and friends updates along the way. Post nice pictures of your work to social media and be happy that you did something good. Developing isn't easy at all, and it takes time, skill, and effort. If you lack any of those things, then you should probably reconsider developing. And this isn't me trying to sound hard, I'm just telling you the truth.
I asked Smee, a representative from the Infinity Driving Universe, on his opinion about the IDU. I already spoke to Daniel, another developer there, and he said that Thomas was a person whose application was denied that proceeded to copy them. He and a few others were surprised that someone had copied a small universe like them. Smee said that Infinity Driving has no concern on their copy, and that they should make it obvious as to which universe their games and places belong to. I want to add a few things to Smee. He mentioned that it just needs to be obvious as to who a game belongs to. Right now, it isn't obvious. The game icons and thumbnails are non-existent on a majority of games, if not a low quality or random picture off a camera or the internet. That is not obvious. I am not a hypocrite. International Driving's games at least have the same description, and if the game is built up enough, there would be an official logo with our universe name on the highway crest. Infinity Driving is in the middle of revamping things, but even before that, when they had public games, there were logos and a picture of the game map. Besides, the only games in the Infinity Driving universe were by Not Pancake, the founder. Now that I've reviewed a lot about the Infinite Driving universe, let me offer some advice to them. Otherwise, I'd be a stereotypical person who doesn't give constructive advice. The only few words you guys know are interchange, road, ramp, interstate, and game, really. When I looked at a ton of incomplete interchanges and asked why they don't allow access to all directions when nothing is in the way, you thought I was asking if the interchange was fully built. An incomplete interchange means that there's no full access to all directions from the intersecting roads without U-turns. If your interchange requires people to drive to the nearest intersection to U-turn, and you clearly have room to allow all the turns, you might as well build the full access. I went into a game with Thomas by Nathaniel. The game featured a jug handle intersection. However, when I asked Thomas to identify this type of intersection, he couldn't figure it out. All he knew was that New Jersey had these types of intersections. I just read a few articles on Wikipedia and learned at least a majority of the terminology I need to know when building a game. It's really simple and easy to just search up. A majority of your games have very little detail to them. It's just a bunch of houses copy-pasted around a tiny map. Some of your maps have potential, but you never finish them. When you say, "Oh, but we want something new to engage players," it's no valid excuse to spam games. You don't have any players besides yourselves and a few other people who stumble upon your work. If your game is too small, too undetailed, unfinished, or broken, it obviously won't engage anyone. Finish your previous games. Restart the map from scratch if you have to. I did it 3 times on a single game and improved drastically. So can you. By reducing the number of games you put out, you make it much easier for you to fix things and to give you time to finish your other games. The current roads you are using are unrealistic, and some don't work the way they're meant to be used. Use roads with embankments and ones that don't leave gaps between each model. Don't just tell me to ignore it. Nobody just finds a crack in the road and leaves it alone. You should change up your road models that you use for your interstates. Medians are much wider than that tiny space, and the road has shoulders, if not embankments. Use roads that match or are similar to the ones used in that place in real life. That way, you can improve the realistic feel of your game that you want to achieve. Your game's descriptions are all either empty or just say, "New game," or "Enjoy the life that this city offers." That's not enough to differentiate between the driving universe that you are inspired by and other groups that might use that prefix. My suggestion is that you should go back and update your older games and places so that there is a similar description style for each of them, so that other people will know for sure that a game belongs to a certain group. Driving games' main focuses are the roads and the element of open world exploration. Your roads are unrealistic and some are undrivable. Expand the map so that the freeway, which is your major attraction, so that there are at least 2 full exits. Doing so will allow people to be able to use the freeway as intended. My suggestion is that you read diagrams or search up on the internet how a specific road junction or interchange flows, so you know where to place roads and whether or not to restrict turns or to place a ramp. Some of your games have broken functions like unusable cars, unrealistic ramps, blocked roads, viruses which cause server lag and maybe even client lag. If you know that some cars do not work, remove them. There's no use for broken cars in your game taking up space. Take some time in studio to make sure everything is working as you intend it to be. If there is an issue, don't publish until you fix them. In conclusion, Infinite Driving is a small driving universe made up of a few friends that makes games based on driving in Roblox. I pointed out some issues with the realism and functionality of their games, and I gave them some advice for them to improve. I am not attacking you, I am pointing out improvement areas in your work and giving you advice to make it better. Follow as much of my advice as possible, and everyone else who voiced their opinions on this video, and it will surely benefit your work.
Okay guys, today we are going to be listening to people that asked for your opinion. Okay guys, thank you for watching and until next time.